Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second Thinking Forward panel. Woohoo! Um, my name is Riel Reddick Stevens. I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of your hosts for the evening.
And I am Ria Kapoor. I use she, her pronouns as well. And I am your other host for the evening.
Yes, welcome. Yes, I am currently in my little apartment in Jijage or Montreal, historically known as the first meeting place for many First Nations people and is cared for by the Gahaga people. Neptune Theatre, however, and where I assume most people are watching from today, is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we acknowledge them as the past, present, and future caretakers of this land. Now, I recognize that we are on the internet, on the web, so people could be watching from wherever, popping in from wherever. So I encourage you to look up where you are, what land you are on, and maybe put it into the comments and just recognize what land you're on. Ria, if you want to speak about that, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm currently in Takaranto, also known as Toronto, and it falls under Treaty 13 territory. And so this is and has been the land of the Anishinaabe, Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat territory. And now that I also wanted to give a little intro, if it's your first time joining us, to what Thinking Forward is. And so it's a panel discussion with youth and artists about theater and concepts and ideas as we move forward into the future of the Canadian theater landscape, and really reflecting on what's happened before and planning ahead as well. You can find us on the Neptune Theatre School Facebook and YouTube. And this week is Taking Chances, Making Changes. So we're bringing artists who have stories of success and innovation throughout theater. And we have some great guest speakers that I'm very excited to chat with. I think, are we ready to bring them on?
Yeah, let's bring them in. Welcome. Yes. Yes. So maybe just to get started, we can go around and all of our guests can just say their name and share like a little piece about themselves. Yeah. Summer, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'm Summer. I use she, her pronouns, and I've been doing theater for a really, really long time. Yeah.
Awesome. Happy to have you here. Anyone else like to step in? Yeah, no.
Hi, I'm Deborah. I'm an artist from Halifax, Nova Scotia, currently based in Toronto as well. And I'm just excited to be here and share a bit about where we're moving forward. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm Noah. I'm an artist from Halifax, Nova Scotia as well, and I'm an instructor with the theatre school as well as a student, and I'm really happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Reyes. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an actor, artist. I go to the National Theatre School of Canada. And thank you for having me here.
Yes, we are happy to have everyone here. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so grateful to be in this room because we have a bunch of artists who do multiple things, who have a lot of projects on the go. I know a lot of you have worked on new projects, brought new pieces to life, or breathed new life into existing projects. Does anyone want to speak on that and just fill the room in a bit on what you've been up to?
I don't mind going. So I've been very thankful and grateful to work with Neptune in the past few years. Prior to the pandemic, my last show at Neptune was actually the last show that fully ran there before everything closed down, which was Controlled Damage. It closed end of February 2020. And little do we know what was going to happen after in March. So grateful for Neptune for hosting, me and continuing to allow me to grow on that stage. And in the meantime, the past 2 years, I've kind of been spearheading my own projects, more so getting into writing, music, also trying to develop more work on my own. And I just released my first short film this year that we filmed this past fall. So it's been really exciting to have the downtime to kind of recenter myself and figure out like what work I really want to put a lot of energy into, and seeing kind of some of my ideas come to life as well, and hopefully connect to community in that way. So that's been cool.
Amazing. Absolutely. A busy pandemic. Very busy pandemic.
Yes. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to speak to that? If not, I do have a question for you, Deborah. Yeah, it seems like you've been doing so much work during the pandemic. I guess, how have you, and this can be open up to everyone, is like, how have you continued to create and things, and create work during such difficult times? How for you? How has that been?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I think what I was missing the most throughout the pandemic was community, and what theater offers specifically. Like we have all these different mediums, theater, film, etc. And they offer pros and cons to how the audience sees the work and also what we can do with it. But theater is kind of like you congregate in a space, and there's something really beautiful about that. And I think we've all been missing that to a degree. As far as staying inspired, I don't know, it kind of like when we removed all of the things that existed in the world, the distractions maybe, because we couldn't go anywhere, it kind of made me really recenter and think of like what work mattered to me and what I wanted to see moving forward. And it just so happened that the medium that was accessible to me was film. And so that's why I kind of went in that lane. But I guess I felt even more inspired. My work is about community, the film I made, and about like connecting in safe spaces. And I think that stemmed a lot from not having that, in the pandemic. So the work reflected the struggle, if you will. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, Summer, is that a hand? Yeah.
I've found that when times got really, really hard, that it was more important to just look at those little things that really, really matter, like was already said. And I just found that when you feel so many different emotions, you can channel that into, especially writing and composing and theater and all of these things, you can channel those really strong emotions into it. And I found that I could use that as a strength instead of a weakness. And I feel like that works in anything. When you're just feeling down or scared or anxious, you just take a breath and you can use that for the good. And I found that that was a really strong thing that I could do during the pandemic to write and perform.
Yes. Yeah, Ray's.
Yeah. I guess like for me, like just the pandemic, like the work that I kind of focus on is that I really am invested in like Black art and like supporting like Black artists. And so I feel like the pandemic kind of just for me just like showed how much inequities there are in the art world for like BIPOC communities. And so I feel like that's what has like fueled me since then. And like that's why like kind of like navigated the kind of work that I am doing now in terms of like arts education, and then like well like Riel, like the work that we do at the school in terms of like trying to make the school more like of a safe space for like BIPOC students and whatnot, and like BIPOC artists, so that like our next generation can like live in an art world that feels like they can actually express themselves fully. So yeah.
on jumping off of creating your own work and getting that forward, as you all have extensive resumes, lots of projects you've worked on, what are the differences in doing something that is new, something that maybe is your own versus an existing problem, like the challenges, the pros and cons, what you've learned along the way? And anyone can speak to that.
Well, I will say that it's challenging, of course, when it's something from the ground up that you've kind of brought this vision that you care strongly about to Rais's point. I'm sorry, am I pronouncing your name right, Rais? Amazing. Sorry. I appreciate what you just said about, the work that you really want to focus on, because I felt the same way when the pandemic hit. I was like, why am I waiting to see this work that I care about? Like, I know it exists. I guess I had this idea of I want to hit certain milestones in certain aspects of my career before I delve into this other thing or this or that. But really, like, I wanted to be part of that change. And so that means I cared a lot about my project, and it was highlighting specifically Black queer folk in the community and like what spaces exist for them. And to that point, when you have a vision and you're trying to see it through and it's your own, it's harder because you care so much about it. Collaboration you have to collaborate with people, and navigating that is obviously can be a challenge. Learning how to communicate effectively to a whole team and make sure that what you're seeing is clear to everyone else. So yeah, there can be difficulties, but it also can be super fulfilling because eventually it's not just yours. It never is. It's a collective, and everyone's come together to create something. So that can be very special too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and also to like add to that, I feel like there's also just so much freedom coming from it. If you're already doing work that isn't within like social norms of like what art looks like, and if you have like a vision that is like personally your own, like it kind of gives you a lot of freedom in your expression, and it's like you're already doing something different and something that you personally haven't seen before. So it's like there's no point in trying to like make it like look or like resemble what the art world already looks like. So for me at least, like the pros of that is just that your freedom of expression is like so vast. And so yeah.
Yes. We have a question. Does anyone have advice for IPOC artists who are considering going to theater school? That's a good question. For sure.
I have advice.
Yeah.
Do your research, like really research the school that you're going to. And like just know that going in, I don't know, like theater school, we're in theater school right now, real. And it's tough, especially like working in institutions, like they have a lot, like a very far place to go in terms of like being, like more diverse and like actually like changing their institutions to reflect their diverse community. So it's like do your research so that going into it, you know what you're getting into, and that like because you know what you're getting into, you can just focus on like the reason that you went there in the first place, so that there are not really any surprises, or that you have an idea of like how you can navigate it before you even go into it. And like research looks like building mentorship, like talking to students who already went there, like creating a community of support that understands theater institutions, so that when you do like approach problems, you have like a wealth of knowledge that will help you push through those problems. And because of that, you'll just be able to enjoy what you're doing so much more and actually focus on like becoming a better artist. And to also just allow, like, just be yourself. Just like don't allow people to dampen who you are at all times. And that's just life advice, I guess.
Yeah. So well said. So well
Mhm.
said. Don't let them dampen.
Mhm.
I feel like that's huge. Like, take up all your space wherever you go and be yourself. Like, don't let anyone come for you. Thank you for those words. Yeah, I feel like something that we talk about a lot is like Yeah, no problem, Rena. Something we talk about a lot is like diversity, and how diversity is not just a matter of like who you're putting into your shows and your schools and things like that, but also the work being done behind the scenes, like um, changing the curriculum that to make sure that it is diverse, and like changing the work that you are doing as a theater company, not just in terms of like culturally diverse, but diverse in all senses of the word. So speaking of that, I would like to then turn it over to maybe Summer. We can talk about right now, Neptune Theatre School is doing Little Women, which is a super exciting time. Yeah, Summer, do you want to speak about that at all?
We're doing Little Women. It's really
and
cool.
Noah, yes.
Yeah, so we just started work on the new YPIC show, Little Women, and I think this year specifically, especially after the last 2 years of not being able to do theater in the capacity that we do now, being back in the theater and seeing how we have such a diverse cast in the show that takes place in the 1800s. Like, this isn't a place where you would expect to see as much diversity as we have in our cast. We've got like we've got a trans actor in the show. We've got BIPOC actors in the show. And it's, for me, that's a big stepping stone for the theater community, because growing up, I never saw people like myself in theater. So getting to be that person and showing the new community of young theater artists and getting to be that person, it's really great and inspiring for me as an actor.
That's so exciting. I'm so happy that y'all are having those opportunities so early too. Like, that's so important. I also heard that you're in another show, Noah, with Neptune. Do you want to speak a bit to that?
Yeah, totally. So I have recently been in Neptune Torco's production of Seeds of Change, which is a two-person musical about family grief and climate change, and making that really digestible for young audiences, which was a really important thing for me when I auditioned for the show, because instead of being live like we normally would do a Torco production, it's filmed and we're sending it out to schools all across the country. And that makes this show so much more accessible for different schools that are far away, or maybe more rural communities, which is so important to have the opportunity for accessible theater for students of all places. And that was a really cool part of that production.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like, yeah, like the pandemic really did ruin a lot of things, but also like I feel like one of the great things that did come out of it is the fact that a lot of theater is being filmed now and is making it more accessible for people to watch all over the place.
Yeah, definitely.
Really cool. Yeah.
I have some questions as well. They popped into my brain. Just when we were talking about creating new work and putting it up, I was just wondering about how the individuals who put new work forward, how that was received. Does it seem like there's space for artists to bring their work forward, or is it still kind of challenging to get your foot in the door? Just like once you've got your project that you really care about, what's it like taking that forward? Yes.
It's absolutely terrifying, honestly. I know that I'm 15 years old, and so when I go up to somebody and I'm like, "Hey, I wrote this entire musical by myself," some people don't exactly take that amazingly. They're kind of like, "Oh, cool. Probably not that good." I don't know. A lot of people doubt what younger people can achieve. And so I'm like, just read it. So I just send it out, and I'm like, even to my friends, people who I work with, and like, can you read this and see, what I should do? Because I don't know that much. I really don't know that much. But I know a lot of people that do. And so you just have to get through that first absolutely terrifying step and just put it out there as much as you can. And maybe somebody will read it and be like, I know somebody who's looking for something really similar to this. Can I send this to them? And it goes on and on and on. And then that happens. So, yeah.
So true. That's such a part of our industry is just like putting it out there and seeing what happens. And it is though that first step, that terrifying first step. Yeah. Yeah. And the fact too that people are like, oh, you're so young. Do you know what you're talking about? And I feel like so many of us still feel so young in our career when pitching an idea, when saying, I believe in this, I'm going to take it forward. And that we can't just let the music theater canon be dictated by like it's predominantly its canon has been written by like a long time ago, years ago, a lot of older men predominantly. And so I feel like it's definitely the time to start taking it over, even when we have to like shove our way through the door. Look at you go, Summer. That is so inspiring too. That you're starting out this journey so early. On that, question for the room, just as an artist, like what it could be like through your work, your own work that you've pushed forward, or just in general, like what is something that you've seen change since you began working until now, or maybe something that you still hope to see change that's still lingering on?
Yeah, Summer.
Okay. It's really short. I think that the new generation of people have so much to say, so much that they want to say. And I just think that we can change the way of theater to make it more inclusive but not change everything because theater is amazing. I'm a theater person. I love it. But just make it more because I feel like we just have so much to say and I really want to see that put in theater and just make it better.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you for that. Reese, I saw you had a hand earlier.
I sure did. Yeah, I guess I like something that's really refreshing to see is that like I feel like theater is being like theater companies are engaging with more communities nowadays, and I feel like that has to do with like changes in like artistic leadership. Like more and more you're seeing like ADs are people of color or like more like just not like straight cis white men, and like that means like subscriptions are like changing to not just be like older rich folks. Like younger communities are now like experiencing theater because it's becoming more accessible. BIPOC communities are like actually engaged, and it's also because the work being reflected on the stage are not just the same old Shakespeare's and Shaw's. And so I just feel like the wider community of like viewers, it's just expanding, and like I go to shows and I see people that like I wouldn't have seen like even like 5 years ago watching like a Soul Pepper play, right? So yeah, and I hope that it continues on that path because it still has so much further to go.
That's so true. Just like, wow, if you put people on stage, people who feel represented by them might come watch them. Like, what a great idea. It's so true.
Yes. Going off of that, I'm curious because yes, we are seeing like more works for more diverse communities and all of this, which is exciting. But I feel like on top of that, we're also getting a lot of works that are very trauma heavy and require a lot of like energy and work and sometimes education. Like for speaking from my experience as like a Black person, like there's been a lot of shows that I've been a part of lately that like have required me having to educate people or just about Blackness and things like that. So I'm wondering if anyone has any suggestions or anything of how they're dealing with fatigue in that, or how you're balancing like creating work that is important and about these issues and for these communities, but also, yeah, how are you balancing, I guess, like the trauma and education versus this is my everyday life and I want to tell a story, if that makes sense. Anyone can answer that.
I feel like that's a really good point, Riel, honestly. And I think that the difficulty with all this new work that we're trying to do and put forward is, like you said before, when we just throw this work and it exists and we don't actually have the actual infrastructure behind it set up. Like when you mentioned diversity, about being like not just diversity on stage, but behind the scenes in the work prior, it shouldn't be on the actor to just be doing. You shouldn't have to educate the entire company on, these different aspects. Like when people are producing shows, it's not just deciding, okay, we're going to cast diversely. It's about how are we actually going to do the work, which is beyond the script. The work is like, it's about, hiring the right people, maybe having like artistic supports or intimacy, like every level, but like, and make sure you're engaging in that work. It can't just be like, we're just going to throw in this work because we want to do better. That's a good step, but you need to be able to protect your artists and make sure that they are not having to shelter or carry that burden, because that also is a failure, I think.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know, Riel. Like I am going through the same thing as you, boo. Like I don't know, because like for me, it's like I get so exhausted by like work that is like trauma heavy, but then like the next week I'll still be back like be the person in the room that's just like I have something to say, and I guess it's just my need to see things change is what fuels me, and yeah, I think it's. For me, what's getting me through it is just my own personal self-care and just like finding the moments where I say no and finding the moments where like I like choose to fight and choose not to, but I'm still figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question. Okay, this is a question from Eric Miracle. It says, I was wondering as artists how you all fuel your art when you are not performing. Sometimes being away during a break, I feel my drive slipping away and I wish to keep it up. That's an excellent question. Anyone want to speak to this?
No, go ahead. I'm speaking.
I've been talking so much, so you go ahead.
Me too. It sounds like, let me give people a chance. I was just going to say, I'm trying to be way more cognizant of maybe like, I think sometimes having space also, like we do need breaks. Like, I'm not saying that like if you want to create the art, it's going to happen. It's going to come through. But sometimes if your body is just like, it's not happening, I'm wanting to listen to that and be like, even taking space and breathing and living informs my art. Like it all is connected in my opinion. But if you're like, I want to create, but I've been away from maybe like the spaces where I need and that sort of thing. I just think that really it's just like, you have to find your own groove, but you have to listen to yourself. You have to trust yourself, like, and that just takes time. And sometimes yourself is just telling you, this is not the moment. And then and if it's happening, it's the time, but it's about having that balance. I think, I don't think we can always be being like, if I'm not putting out, am I an artist? What am I doing? That's capitalism telling you that you need to be putting stuff out all the time. You don't have to be, but so that's my take on it. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like add to that, because like completely, you don't have to be making art all the time. And in the moments where you feel like you can't find the motivation, just watch things, read things. Like part of being an artist is consuming art as well, right? And there's nothing that like motivates me more or wants me to create more than seeing something that I really, really like. Like it's like I'll be so exhausted and then I'll watch like moonlight and then be like, oh, here I go again. You know what I mean? So it's like, exactly. Like, if there are moments where you're like, I can't do this, just rest and like consume, lie on your bed and just watch things. Yeah.
Summer.
I just a little thing to add on to what everybody else said. If you find yourself just like in a writing block, like you can't write anything, don't stress yourself out over it, because the thing is, when you're writing and creating theater, that is super vulnerable. It's so vulnerable. But you need to be the most authentic version of yourself, because that's how you're going to succeed. And so if you're just forcing yourself to write something on the paper, sometimes that'll work. Yeah, that's good. So proud of you for doing that. But you also, you're allowed to take that breath and realize that maybe this isn't the moment for you to write an entire musical. Maybe it's not to write a play. And you just have to realize that that's okay, you know? And I feel like I'm a little bit of a hypocrite in senses, because I totally get stressed out. Everybody gets stressed out. But yeah, just don't feel like it's not okay. Yeah.
Summer, where were you when it's like 3 a.m. and I'm not done my assignment? Ah, the pep talk I needed. Gotta save that for my forever. That was very well said. The one thing I wanted to add too is that I love about artists too is that no one is just one thing. Even the panel today, there are artists, writers, teachers, everyone has so many different facets of themselves. And so sometimes it can feel like, oh, I can't make any art at all. But sometimes it's like, okay, writing isn't working. What else can I do? And that's kind of something amazing about the community of artists, is that the jack of all trades, like when one thing isn't happening, that's okay. I'm sure you have a million and five other qualities that are waiting for you to pick them back up and have at it. Yeah, we're cool like that.
I just have a fun question. What work right now is exciting you all? It can be any art form. What work out there is getting you excited and inspiring you these days? Yeah, Summer.
I find that now a few things are happening in my life, like more things, not just staying at home and vibing, like actually going out and doing things. And I find that when I'm out and like doing Little Women at Neptune, and seeing people and experiencing those things, that gets me super excited to just write, because I often write about personal experiences or personal connections. And so just experiencing life in that sense is getting me really excited, and seeing my friends and everybody just succeed. Like that's so exciting. So that's exciting and inspiring and great.
Yes, no.
To backpack off of what Summer has said, I totally agree. Especially in the last few months, when the theater world has really been amping back up again, I've been finding a lot of inspiration with being with other people and being with other artists that I haven't felt in a few years. I feel, especially at this really important turning point in my life, graduating high school and finally being out there in the world and experiencing more. Being around these people and getting to meet new people is so inspiring for both writing and me as a performer, and how I create characters and work on both original and pre-existing works. So just getting to experience, like Summer said, and living with other people and connecting is so inspiring for me.
Um, I think I have one last question. If everyone's okay with that, unless anyone has anyone they wanted to add to that previous question. Yeah, so I guess my last question is, what advice would you give to others who may want to create their own work? Yes, Noah.
my advice would just be to, no matter how scared you are, just start writing on the paper, start playing the notes, do whatever you can, because I've only been starting to create my own work recently, and for so long I've wanted to do this, and I've had so much fear of it not being good enough, or not being worth working on in the long run. But just getting over that fear and just going into it. It could be, maybe I'm thinking it's the worst thing possible that I'm writing right now, but as long as I'm writing words, or I'm getting anything out there, that's better than doing nothing. So it's as long as we're getting past that fear, that's what's really pushing me.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, Summer.
My advice is, you are so amazing. And I need you to know that. I was really in a spot where I did not believe that. So my advice is for you to know, even if you don't believe it, that you can achieve whatever you want. And that sounds so cheesy, but I remember a person told me, I'm not going to say their name because I don't want them to absolutely kill me, but they looked me in the eyes and was like, we are going to help you. We're going to help you realize how amazing you are and what you can achieve. And that was the best advice I've ever gotten, because now I actually believe it. And it's incredible. So if one person watching this can just take that advice and realize that they are worth so much, that's the best advice that I can give.
That is so lovely. Thank you.
Summer, you are like killing me right now. You're just incredible. I agree with what they both said. I just, to your point, oh, Summer, I'm still not over that. It was so good. I just think that when you think of us as artists, we are always having ideas. Like, they come up all the time. I know you all have experienced this. It's just like, and then we talk ourselves out of it. We reject ourselves almost, to Summer's point. And I think sometimes it's just like overthinking less. If things are sticking with you, just see it through. Don't overthink too much of the details sometimes. Just like you said, like they both said, Noah said, put it down on paper, put down the notes, and then just move on to the next thing. Like, just keep creating, and don't shut yourself down from your ideas, even if it's not the most elaborate, life-changing thing. Sometimes it's those little steps that sometimes bring you to that next thing that can be more significant for you. But it's all valid, and if it matters to you, then do it, and then just keep doing it. That would be all I would say.
Yeah, I have I guess two things is kind of somewhat on that, is that your work is not going to be amazing the first time you do it. It's creation is a long process, and you're gonna write and you're gonna write and you're gonna write and you're gonna create, and then you're gonna edit down, and then you're gonna write again. And it's if you really believe in your idea, then you will land at something that feels really good for you, And so just to know that, just to be patient with yourself, because it's a long process. And then also just mentorship, find people who want to see you succeed and want to help you grow, and show them your work, get feedback, workshop the things that you write, receive critique. And that will, and I mean, obviously with doses, because sometimes believe in what you're doing. And if somebody says something that about your work that you're I'm not sure about that, learn how to take things and leave them as well, right? But I feel that's just another way to invest in your creation process, right? So that's me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just going off of what everyone said, I feel like one thing that I often get caught up in is I get overwhelmed, and I feel like I have so much pressure as being a young person to be great, and I'm I have to be good, so I have to come up with ideas all the time and all this. But yeah, similar to what Summer was saying, I feel like it's so important to realize that you can ask for help. And there's so many people who want to help you. And especially being young people, there's so many people who want to foster your work and hear it. So yeah, ask for help. Like Ray said, reach out to those people whose work you like and show it to them. And yeah, people will help you.
Never underestimate the power of a blind email.
No, for real. Yeah. Anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
I was just gonna say to all of your points, like to have someone in your life, like Summer mentioned, who's just like, you're incredible, I want to foster what you're doing, is so important. And so, yeah, really connecting with community when you're doubting yourself and having people come in, mentors, etc. We're all saying the same things, but it is crucial though. It is crucial. And it makes you feel less alone in your work. It makes you realize like people have gone through the same thing with their work. And it just allows you, it just empowers you because you have a team behind you. You're never fully alone, you know? So reach out to us. Feel free. That's all.
Awesome. Well, yeah, unless anyone has any last dying things they would like to say, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Ria, do you have anything you'd like to say or add?
It was wonderful talking with all of you. I'm so thankful that everyone joined us online as well. Just so inspiring, reminding me to pull out my notebook and finish all of the unfinished projects I have started within the last, week. So it's really lovely hearing from all of you.
Yes, it was lovely. Thank you so much for everyone watching and all your questions. And thank you to everyone on the panel for being so open and honest and sharing your journeys with us. Yeah, it was so incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching.